In this video, I'm going to show you how to advertise local businesses using Facebook and Instagram ads. Now, you may have seen some of my previous videos where I might recommend not advertising to an audience less than 500,000 people when using the direct to offer strategy, but that's not always possible with local businesses. And actually, because with local businesses, you are targeting a much smaller geographical area, usually a far smaller population than if you're advertising nationally or internationally, you need to make quite a few adjustments to your targeting. So I wanted to create a specific video covering targeting for local businesses specifically. Let's get into it. So I'm in an example ad account here, and I'm going to quickly create an example campaign and then jump to the ad set level to show you how we would set up targeting and the adjustments we would make for local businesses. So I'm in Ads Manager. I'm going to click on this plus create button. I'm going to go with a leads campaign. You could use a different campaign objective if you were looking to, depending on your sales funnel and how that's constructed, but I'm going to go ahead and select leads and then click continue. I'm going to go with a manual leads campaign to show you how this works. And then what we're going to do is jump over to the ad set level. Now, I've got lots of other videos that show you exactly how to do everything else within a campaign, how to set up the campaign level and the rest of the ad set settings and the ads and things like that. So for this video, I want to keep it nice and specific and jump down to the targeting section and just show you exactly how to set that up. Now, the first thing that you'll often see is that Meta will default location will be the entire country in which you are based. So here we've got the United Kingdom. That is not something that we're going to want to do if we're advertising a local business. First thing I need to mention, this sounds fairly self-explanatory, but I have seen people think you have to advertise to a whole country. That's not true at all. You can get very specific with your targeting. So if I go ahead and delete out the United Kingdom, and I live in a town in England called Cheltenham. So if I want to put that in, let me make sure the right one comes up. Cheltenham, England. So start by entering in the center of the location that you want to target. And then you can adjust accordingly the area around that location. So the decision here really comes down to where are you willing to travel, or where do you think your prospects are willing to travel if they come to you as a local business? Because obviously some local businesses operate where they go to the customer, some it's the reverse. So have a think about what that might be, and it will differ depending on your business. If, for example, you're advertising a gym, that's a location that your customers are going to have to come to. They're probably going to do so quite frequently, you'd hope so at least, and therefore they're not going to be willing to travel very far. So if you're advertising a gym, you're going to want to really reduce this radius, maybe even select current city only, you know, depending on the place where you live and how far people travel in general, how sparsely populated is it. However, if on the other hand, you are an interior design business and you specialize in barn conversions, well, there aren't that many barns to convert, so you're probably going to have to cast a wider net, and you probably only work on a couple of projects a year, maybe a few more, but you know the sort of thing I'm talking about. Therefore, you're willing to travel further to your customers. So you then go back to cities with radius, and you might go with the 25-mile default. You might really be happy to expand it out and think, you know, there aren't that many customers to be had. We need to be willing to travel to cast a larger net. So have a think about what that might be for your specific location. You can always come in and address this later on. If you set too large a radius and you know you find that people that are actually signing up for, say, your gym or whatever are only really close within your target location, you could come in and adjust your targeting. If likewise you find that you're missing out on potential customers because you haven't set it wide enough and you're willing to travel, then you can adjust accordingly. But just set your best foot forward and go with that. Because we're advertising on a local basis, we can see that the audience size is going to be significantly smaller. So if we're advertising to the whole of the UK, that's going to be roughly 50 million Facebook, Instagram users, let's say. Whereas we can see here, this estimated audience size on the right for 25 miles around Cheltenham is 1 to 1.2 million people in that area, okay? So it's significantly small in terms of population. That means we need to be less specific with our subsequent targeting options. We can't really narrow it down like we might if we were targeting the whole of a country or multiple countries, because we're going to end up with an audience that is just too small. Now, if this was my target area, I would want my eventual audience ideally to be above 250,000 people. So you can see how we're not massively shrinking this down. So let's start with age. Yes, you can narrow down your age range if your product or service is quite specific to a certain age, but keep it broad. So let's say we were advertising our digital marketing services. We only wanted to work with customers that we could meet with face-to-face in the local area. Therefore, we would narrow this down, and we know that our typical customer is going to be a business owner, let's say, that is between the ages of 30 and 60, something like that, right? Well, we're going to want to make this nice and broad. So let's make that 25, add some buffer on, and we might go all the way up to 65 plus, or maybe just cap it under so that we don't get the plus and the tail end, something like that. Now you can see that even though this is a broad age selection, we've already reduced our estimated audience size quite specifically. Then when it comes to genders, unless you are very much one way or the other, let's say 90% male, 90% female or more, I would keep this open and allow Meta to do its thing and work out who to put your ads in front of. As our business, we work with obviously business owners that are both male and female all the time, so we would leave this as all. Then the detailed targeting gets really interesting. So if we were advertising a business like this, one of the ad sets that we use would be targeting open targeting, otherwise known as broad targeting, which would basically be this, right? It would be our age range, gender if required, the local area in which we want to advertise, and we wouldn't add in any detailed targeting options at all. We would just leave that open, and that may well be one of our best performing options. If we do come into detailed targeting, select edit and want to add in some options, we need to make sure that we stay relatively broad in terms of our interests. So if we were advertising our digital marketing services, we might go for people that are, say, interested in social media marketing as an option, okay, interest. And if we click on that, we'll see that our audience, so that audience hasn't changed because we've still got advantage detailed targeting selected. Go ahead and deselect that, but we can see, look, that's brought our audience all the way down to 71,000 to 84,000. That's just not going to be big enough. Okay, are there other related interests that we could add in instead? Let's try digital marketing and delete this one out. I imagine this is going to be pretty specific as well. Slightly bigger, but still a little bit too small. If we delete that out and go broader in terms of the terms that we're advertising, okay, how about just marketing in general? What does that give us? Okay, marketing significantly larger. That's what you'd expect, right? Hearing these targeting, more people are interested in marketing as a whole than social media marketing, than digital marketing. You can see how these sort of fit within each other. This is a good audience size to test. So we might have one ad set that is testing broad targeting, one ad set that is testing marketing. We may be able to have another ad set, for example, that is just people interested in business. Might be another options that we can use, slightly larger still. But you see the sort of thing I'm talking about here. You need to be broader with your targeting options when you're advertising locally. And by the way, all of what I've shown you here would have to be different if we narrowed this audience down. So if I just briefly take this down to current city only, for example, we can see that now trying to target business as an interest takes us down to way too small. So we'd have to basically, if we were just targeting Cheltenham, we would have to go with broad targeting only as an option, because that's the only way we could get the audience size up. We would still, by the way, so if I delete this out to demonstrate, we would still, by the way, be beneath the 250,000 that I mentioned. And that's okay, because if we only want to advertise to the actual city of Cheltenham, there's only something like 110,000 people that live here. Once we've added in a few of these, we're looking at, 66 to 78. So let's say, 70, 75,000 people. We can't make it any bigger than that. If you only want to advertise in that area, don't artificially increase the geographical area in order to make your audience size larger. That's silly. Just be aware that your audience is going to be small. That's fine. There are some things you can do about that I'll mention in a minute, but that's how we would approach this, okay? So if I just go back to the previous example, because I think most businesses are going to be using the radius, we've deleted that out. Our detailed targeting, that takes us back up to this sort of range that's only slightly narrowed by the age criteria. So we've got our open targeting ad set. We've perhaps got a couple of interests depending on whether you can find them or not. That's going to depend on your business and whether you can find broad enough interests and how many people are actually in your location. And then the other type of targeting that we're going to use, cold audience targeting that we're going to use for local businesses, is lookalike audiences. So you add those in with this custom audiences section, you click on this, in here, search existing audiences, and I've already prepared one. Now this is a 10% lookalike audience based on all website visitors, okay? So people who have visited the website, 10% lookalike audience. If you are not familiar with lookalike audiences, I'd recommend checking out another video I've created that's a full tutorial, shows you exactly how to do it. I'll include a link in the video description below. So go ahead and check that out if you're not familiar with how they work and things along those lines. Now, the reason why we're creating a 10% lookalike audience is that's the largest lookalike audience that we can create that Meta will allow us to. And the way it works with a lookalike audience is that you are saying to Meta, at 10%, I want the 10% of people within this location that are most similar to the source audience. So in this case, we've got the 10% of people in the UK that are most similar to the people that have visited our website within the last 180 days. If you're confused by that, check out the lookalike audience tutorial, it'll all make sense. Now, what you'll likely find is that your audience size is going to be beneath the sort of 250,000 that I mentioned. We would make an exception for this audience because lookalike audiences typically do perform well, particularly for local businesses, okay? They're very, very powerful. So we would make an exception and we would test lookalike audiences. In an ad set where you do test a lookalike audience, there are a few adjustments I'd make. So I would personally get rid of Advantage Plus lookalike audience, which expands it beyond, not something that I typically use. And I would also recommend leaving this open. So no detailed targeting, no gender selection, and then we would adjust the age back to the full range that we can use, 18 to 65, because the specificity is all going to be taken care of with the lookalike audience. We don't need to add in any other specific criteria, okay? So those are all the cold audience options that we would use when advertising local businesses. So I'm just gonna flesh these ad sets out for you actually, and then we're going to create the warm audience ad set, because that's really important. So we would wanna have this as our lookalike ad set, okay? And then if I go ahead and duplicate this, and we will create 4 duplicates into the same campaign. So we would have multiple ad sets within the same campaign. We've got our lookalike ad set there. If we just select this ad set, this one would be our marketing ad set, okay? And if we scroll down, if we remember the marketing ad set option, so we don't want a lookalike audience in here, let's delete that out. We've got the same location targeting here. We want to change our age range back to 25 to 64. And then in detailed targeting, we are going to add in marketing. Add that in. Okay, and that's set up. That's our marketing ad set. Then we would go down and delete that lookalike audience out, change the age range to, I keep clicking on 24 for some reason, 25 to 64. And then in detailed targeting, we would want to add in our business interest, because we identified that as one. And then we would go up here, scroll all the way to the top, and call this business ad set. Okay, so we've got cold audience there, cold audience there, cold audience there. And then this one here, we're going to call this one open ad set. So this is where we're going to have no targeting options whatsoever. So scroll down, let's get rid of the lookalike audience. We'll go with the same age parameters as what we discussed previously. No detailed targeting in here whatsoever. And that's going to be our largest audience size. And that leaves us with our 5th ad set, which is going to be warm audiences. Now, when it comes to retargeting warm audiences, definitely something you want to do if you're a local business. It's very, very simple. We'll delete out our lookalike, and you just want to go ahead and add in all the relevant warm audiences. So here we've got people who've engaged with our Facebook page, people who engaged with our Instagram account, people who have watched videos of ours on Facebook and Instagram, people who are on our email list, and people who have visited our website. So all the available warm audiences that you have want to be added in here. Absolutely make sure that you don't have Advantage Custom Audience selected. That was automatically deselected for me then, but it probably won't be for you. So make sure you go ahead and turn that off. And then this would be our warm audience. We would leave this open, so we don't need to narrow the age, gender, detailed targeting, anything down when you're targeting people that have already interacted with your business. And if you're not familiar with how to retarget, how to create these custom audiences that are just very quickly added in there, because these are all pre-created, I'll include another link in the video description that shows you exactly how to go about setting all those up, when to use each one, and stuff like that. So really useful video, which strongly recommend you check out that tutorial. But this would be how our targeting would look for a local business. Typically, we've got a lookalike at 10%, remember, a couple of interests if we can, an open ad set, and then, we need to rename this one, and then this would be our retargeting ad set. And if we're running the direct to offer strategy, which I talk about a lot, and we're targeting for a local business, this is exactly what you look like. Obviously, you'd have to make sure that you've got all the ad set settings right, or the campaign settings, and that you've got your ads set out. But in terms of targeting, this is the way we go. Now, there is an even easier way to get your targeting set up than what I've described in this video, and that's to have my company do it for you. So we offer done for you Facebook and Instagram advertising services. If you're interested, you can click on the link in the video description below, take you through to a page on our website where you can book in a call with one of my team members. These are free, no obligation. It's to find out more about your business, how we might be able to help. You can find out more about our services, what we charge and things like that. So go ahead and book a call and hopefully we get a chance to work together. So the next videos I'd strongly recommend you check out are that one on how to create a lookalike audience, a full detailed tutorial, and that one on how to create these custom audiences so that you can retarget. Again, it's a full detailed tutorial. I think you'll find both of those very helpful. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe.